Good morning, everybody. It is Thursday, January 18th, 2024. Let's go ahead and jump back and take a look at what happened yesterday. I believe we were talking about expecting maybe a pullback given some of the signals we saw. But I did say, or we did talk about the fact that if the bears couldn't get price down through, 47.39 to about 45 here, and we did have our scaffolding here at 46. That was going to be a major zone that if the bulls could defend, could give a clue that they are still in power in the higher time frames, right? So that's what we were looking at. Market opened here at our vertical line, and they tried to defend the first roadmap level at 60.5, and they did get a little bit of a push right to the back end of that 50% retrace, I believe, or 38 retrace we were looking at, and VWAP to the tick. So from the open, buying 60.5, taking on maybe 2 points of risk, brought you right to the VWAP there. And if you were thinking like a bear, given that the market was in a downtrend there, you could have grabbed the back end of the VWAP right back to the roadmap level. So some decent parries back and forth between there. And then we got an even bigger push up into the Hopel. And from there, we never broke the Hopel by more than, I think, 1.75 ticks there. So didn't even go 2 points through it. And that was basically the high of the morning. So from there, held Hopel, and I guess you could argue 50% of last week, which is a major line in the sand for us. And the bulls just could not get through, and that began this push lower. Again, holding 60.5 again for the bounce after it failed from the Hopel. Hold the back end of the 200 here. Maybe not nice, as sexy as the hold off VWAP earlier to the tick like we saw there, but basically holding the 200 on that bounce. And then from there, came down to bounce one tick in front of our next roadmap level, our major scaffolding level around 46. So pretty good morning if you ask me. You could have bought 60.5. You could have sold the back end of the VWAP. You could have sold the back end of Hopel. Or you could have even sold the back end of the 200 here and got this whole push down. Again, coming down to bounce one tick in front of our scaffolding level. That was most of the morning there. And then right at the end of the day, this was, again, on the higher time frames. I don't have this marked down on the 512. But remember, this was right here. This was the big green zone that we wanted to see hold for a push higher for the bullish case. 39 to 45, and then we had our scaffolding at 46. So pretty much exactly, if you were in the pre-market yesterday, we were talking about something that Kevin was talking about and seeing some type of potential inverse head and shoulders type of thing. And this was basically the level I told you guys, if we could come down to here, hold that, and get a rotation, and pretty good rotation so far, that might be that final shoulder. And that's exactly what seems to be happening. So Kevin, another great call yesterday. This could be the beginning of this bigger rotation. So again, some really great parries back and forth between our levels, some holds to the tick in some instances, and then again, the low of the day. The high of the day, at least after the open, was the Hopel, and the low of the day was one tick in front of our next roadmap level. And that's how the day went. The bulls recovered right off of the pocket. Here, I'll just bring it up on the higher time frames here so you guys can see. This was the very pocket that we've been watching for however many days now, maybe about a week or two, or maybe a week and a half. And they came right to it here for probably the biggest bounce ever since the market sold off here. So pretty good stuff if you ask me. And now here we are. Well, let's take a look at what happened at the end of the day. We got the recovery. We got the pullback to bounce off of the next major retracement we were watching, and then came back again to test it to end the day basically right back off the Hopel. What do you know? So at the end of the day, they rallied it right back to basically the high of the morning, held Hopel there for the pullback, and then we came into the overnight session coming into this morning. And again, we're getting a continuation of that recovery from the end of the day. And so far, so good. So let's take a look. Pretty messy just out of the open there for the Globex session. But then once they got back up through the VWAP there, at least appreciably by not just a couple ticks, but it did push up about 3-4 points and then came back to hold it here. Held it 3 times. And this is why I tell you guys, for whatever reason in the overnight, you could basically throw VWAP up and trade back, you know, once it holds one way or the other, trade in that direction. And this is exactly what happened. Didn't break by maybe a point, point and a half, and then held to the tick all night for this bounce higher. Had a little trouble right off the roadmap level that we held earlier on that we were talking about there at 77. Pulled back, held VWAP to the tick, and then popped up. And then we had the news right about 5:30 this morning. I thought this was involved with the news, but I guess not. So really, really good push. And then right here is where the news dropped. And you can see we kind of held the next roadmap level. Again, stair step. I talk about this really often. You know, I didn't kind of talk about it today, but it's still stair stepping up these levels and then getting through this one and holding that to stair step up again. Except we failed to the tick just a couple minutes ago, right off our next roadmap level. Kind of interesting that, you know, we have this huge rally from the low of yesterday at 47.46, pushes all the way up, the news hits, and we touch our next roadmap level to the tick. I mean, I don't know where else you get the accuracy that you get with these things. So that's basically what we have here in the overnight. Nice hold off of the 200 so far. Let's go ahead and jump up to the higher time frames and see what they have in store for today.